Hello and welcome to episode 7 of the Some People podcast. How are you today?
Well, good. Yourself?
I'm pretty good. All right, so just wanted to make a quick announcement. Make sure you check us out on all the social media platforms. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter.
Why are we on now?
Yeah, Instagram and Twitter, they're probably going to be the two big ones that you'll get updates and all that sort of stuff.
If anything, I'll probably try and manage the Twitter thing myself.
Yep, so
but
Twitter...
knowing me, I'd be posting announcements and probably stuff, but probably not even really going to get back to replying anyone, and then it feels really sad because, they took their time to, message us. For sure. So, the Twitter handle is the Some People Pod, and the Instagram is Some People Podcast. So that's where you can find us. I was going to ask you why you did that. Isn't there a character limit for the handles? There is. So there was a character limit for Twitter, and I think Instagram might have had that as well. There was something, but unfortunately I couldn't get them to match. And also remember to like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you're on a streaming service, don't forget to leave a review. Yes. Yep. Leave us some comments, a review. Let us know how we're going, what you'd like to hear. Oh, yeah, definitely. And what we should talk about next. Yes. I just realised we just opened up Pandora's box with that, saying that. A little bit. But, any questions, anything that you'd like to hear us talk about, get our insight on, let us know. I can see how quickly this is going to go downhill. Although, that's just because I don't have much faith in humanity. Yes, for sure. Well, there are definitely some good people out there, though. Definitely is. There's lots of interesting characters as well. Oh, yeah. I'm probably one of them. All right. We'll get into the first segment. Oh, yeah, definitely. It's probably the longest intro we've done so far. Probably. I want to say, we should really keep track on this stuff. Well, anyway, the first segment for today is just kind of a continuation of what the last one from the last episode, right? Yes. Well, that's what we plan to do. Yeah. Just give me a second here. I've just got to fix some things up. Take a few swigs. I went down the wrong bloody hole. I hate when that happens. Nick? Yes, it's not fun. It's not a good feeling. So, the whole point of that, that review, the last segment on the last episode was kind of almost the initial impressions, I guess, for the new version of the Modern Firearms mod. Yeah. And now that I've, probably put in 14 hours now, I think it's probably better, actually more reasonable to put a bit more of an in-depth one in. I knew by the time I get to that point, I'm going to be starting to break some things, and things were broken. I ended up buggering a save, and that's how to start from scratch. And so that's why I'm not sure how much time I've actually sunk into the mod. Yeah. Although 14, 15, 16 hours, counting that old save and then having to go far back in that old save and do a lot of things over again. So, about 16 hours in total, I guess. Yeah, that's a pretty good amount of time to make a pretty decent evaluation. Probably not as much as I've sunk into the older version, so I could probably say a couple of hundred easy. Yeah, so you'll definitely have once you get around probably the 20 hour mark, things will be getting a bit closer, but definitely once you get to the 50 hour mark and obviously 100, that's where your opinions will be pretty concrete. Yeah. But I might as well start off with the elephant in the room, and probably one of the biggest problems that I didn't in the first few hours, and which was kind of covered in the initial impression, didn't really test out that much, is the how the weapons handle the scripting in that, which I gotta say it's a bit of in my opinion, a downgrade from the older version, which the older version was a bit finicky, but this thing is just completely finicky. Right. Because one thing is it actually kind of doesn't like switching between weapons. So if you were to go and use the weapon config aid, it would probably give you the options that were available for the previous weapon you're just using instead of the one you just pulled out now, where in the older version it would kind of didn't really have that hiccup when doing it in the older version, because it actually realized, oh yeah, this is a different weapon as soon as you kind of switch it.
Yeah, right.
And even then, the pause between initiating it and it actually triggering, it tends to be even longer in this newer version than it was in the older one, which kind of not only hurts the immersion a bit, but then kind of leaves you at a bit of a disadvantage if you needed to switch out and make some tweaks on the fly.
Yeah, for sure.
Like at times, being waiting up to 5 seconds just so I can actually switch from using the assault rifle to using the grenade launcher that's attached onto it.
Right.
And then having to wait like another 5 seconds to be like, oh yeah, I want to use this kind of rounds in the grenade launcher.
Yeah. Yeah. That when you're in sort of a high stakes situation, that definitely is not what you want, that sort of annoying little hiccup. And
like at most, probably when it was really playing up in the older version, it would probably take 3 seconds from the input to it actually doing something.
Yeah.
And that was on the older version, where now it seems like it's more around that 5 second mark.
Yeah, okay.
Especially when it's also switching to the grenade launcher, it would take a bit to switch to the grenade launcher and be like bit for the menu to pop up. It's like, okay, you can choose this or this round.
Yeah.
Which just kind of hurts it, because in the older version you could just set it to attach the grenade launcher, set it to fire these kind of grenades, and then I think it kind of worked, and when you would switch to it, it'd be using those grenades and you didn't have to select one. Yeah. But I think it may have been a bit bugged and it just defaulted to the top of the list, which was, I think, either an FAE or a HEDP. Right. Yeah. Which are both pretty damn good at doing their job. Uh-huh. Although my personal favourite grenade in the new version is the airburst. I'm trying to think, the MIRV or something like that. Okay. I can't remember the actual thing, but it's the airburst. The normal airburst seems to be broken, but that one works, and it works really well, because what it essentially does is, you wouldn't be able to really use it in is in a direct fire. It's more of an indirect fire type of grenade. Mm-hmm. But what you do is, you'd aim up above your target and kind of get your trajectory right, so that the airburst will detonate above the target, and it will rain down smaller explosives in an area around the target, and those will detonate, creating a cluster bomb-like effect. Yeah. So not only is it going to completely obliterate anything in the center of that, but stuff that would normally be unscathed from a normal type grenade would get quite a bit of a certain shocking surprise, because one explosion, several little explosions, and that's when all the little ordnance would start going off. For sure. And it has some reason causing my frame rate to crash. I guess that sort of makes sense. Yeah, it'd be obviously with the mod itself, you're pushing your luck a little bit. So if it has to produce such a small amount of information, or such a large amount of information in a small amount of time, then your frame rate's gonna choke up. Again, when it's so satisfying when you use it really well, when you get the angle right and it detonates right above where you want it to, and then it just rains down hell on everyone around it. Yeah. Which is usually in an area where there's a high density of enemies, and it's just for sure it just does a really good job of softening up the resistance. Yes. Yeah. No, that'd be a pretty good little tool to have for sure. And that's kind of what my strategy that I've kind of developed is if I'm moving into a position where I know there's a lot of enemies around, I'll kind of set myself up and get the angle right, and just lob a few into an enemy's position, whether to soften them up or even draw them out of cover. Because they know they're being attacked, so they're going to come out, and then the next sally will get those lot. For sure. So it's almost got like a similar effect to a flashbang, except it actually has some piercing sort of damage as well. Well, it's actually the flashbang's is a non-lethal option, where this is well and truly lethal. Yeah. But it's sort of like a flashbang. You're getting that disorientation, but also getting your enemies to move out of cover. Well, I guess
and that sort of thing.
in all honesty, it'd be more comparable to artillery bombardment.
Right.
Because that's essentially kind of what it is. It's just a small artillery bombardment in a grenade.
Yeah, okay. Interesting.
So it's just like, so if you had I think there's actually a multiplayer mod for Fallout 4, so that'd be awesome if you could get that. Don't you have an Xbox?
I do have an Xbox. I don't have Fallout 4.
So you probably could get it with the Game Pass and that, or even get a good deal with it through the Game Pass if you got that.
Actually, I think it is on the Game Pass last time I checked.
Is.
Yeah.
So I'll see if I don't think the mod's available for the Xbox. If it is, I'll probably let you know because it'd be fun. Just because I think with two people with that kind of with that grenade launcher, with those grenades, would just be able to kind of rain down hell.
Yes, that would be pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's like at that point, it doesn't matter how well dug in they are. It's just you can do some damage. Like a good example is obliterate a good chunk of the child of atoms that were up at the lighthouse.
Right.
Because that was probably the most satisfying use of it. Because yes, they were all clustered around this one building. Yet there's a lot of points where the explosive could sneak into the building and then detonate inside the building. And a large amount of the child of atom that were killed by the grenade were inside said building because the initial air burst went off in the air, right above the house and then just sprayed down all around. Yeah. And there's a good chunk of them just being bits and pieces of them lying around even around the outside of the building.
Nice.
Which just shows how effective that I don't think it was only one salvo actually. It just lobbed off one grenade and it did all that.
Yeah, right. Cool.
It just shows how effective one well placed of that grenade can do.
For sure.
It's much better than the shrapnel. Well, the shrapnel does a ton of damage, but I have a nasty habit of killing myself when I use it. Just because I guess, the shrapnel can travel pretty far and still pack a bit of punch. Right. And I was using it indoors, which, word of advice, I do not recommend using a grenade launcher in indoor environments unless you're like at a gymnasium or pool. For sure. Where you've got a large distance between you and the detonation. Yeah, for sure. Because if I remember correctly, fragments from the explosion can be lethal up to 100 feet away. Yeah, right. Like your chances of getting hit at 100 feet away are not that very high, but if they do, it can still be lethal. Yeah, for sure. Which just shows you how careful you got to be with explosives. Definitely. Cool. And any other little gripes you've found? Well, the scripting is what really hurts it for me. Yeah. Not only that, but I've had some issues with the M16. Right. Which I was so looking forward to because, well, even though I couldn't configure it to the A1, so I couldn't get a really good pairing of an M16 A1 and M60 and then just cue the Vietnam era music. Right. Which is a missed opportunity in my opinion. Well, I guess just put some CCCR on when you're rocking the M60 and I guess you'll be right. Pretty much. That is, the sort of go-to that definitely a lot of movies like to use. Yeah. But it is very fitting. I gotta say, I think, didn't they use CCR for the kind of the opening sequence of Battlefield Vietnam? I'm not sure if you'd know that because Battlefield Vietnam is like the second game in the Battlefield franchise. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. Loved and played the shit out of that game. I'm pretty sure they used it in one of the Call of Duties. They used Fortunate Son in the mission SOG, which is set in Khe Sanh. Yeah. Yeah. I think they used it at the beginning and the end. Yeah. So it starts at the beginning of the mission and it's like the tail end of the song at the end of the mission. Right. Yeah, I remember it pretty well. Oh, I gotta say, I don't think I could beat SOG on Veteran. Like somehow I was able to complete all the levels leading up to it on Veteran. Besides some areas where it was like just dumb luck that I was able to make it. Like Operation 40 had a lot of those areas. Like, especially, there was one area in the first half where, I guess you play Black Ops 1, so you probably know, what Operation 40 is like. It's just that kind of run down the alley to the car. Yeah. And just the way to fire they throw at you is like, if you don't kind of cheese it and kind of beat the kind of the timing for the events, you're going to never make it. At most, you probably make it halfway before you gun down. Yeah. But me cheesing it and kind of sprinting ahead of the group and kind of getting ahead of the rest of the group got me enough time so I could get around behind the corner. Okay. Although one idiot soldier came around the corner and with how close I was, just as soon as he popped around the corner, I just stabbed him. Didn't have a chance in hell. Yeah. And then as soon as I prompted to get in the car, I got in, I gunned it.
Cool. Nice.
Although I died in a few tight sections in the second half of Operation 40.
Yeah.
Which is the part where you go and infiltrate the, what is it, like a mansion or something? Villa?
A villa. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is, yeah. It's been a while since I've played, but yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Kind of when in those corridor sections, it can be a bit of a pain because all it takes is you just to not notice an enemy and you're dead.
Yeah,
because the kill time's like...
Yep.
Like, so you got literally no time to react, so you got to be pretty much on point.
Yep, definitely.
And just trying to get through the doorway once you actually try and get out of the villa towards the airfields, a section where I really died a lot just because it's a very tight area you have to come out through and there's tons of fire being concentrated in that area, so there's a good chance you're going to get pegged or get caught by a grenade that gets lobbed in there.
Yeah, yep.
I mean, it was just a bit of a tight fight to kind of be able to get free and get to the airfield.
For sure.
And I remember even on lower difficulties, during the bit where you got to run out and get to the... Well, when you're in the AC, dying quite a few times during that section there. Yeah. But I didn't die once in veteran in that section, which I died a few times on regular.
Yeah,
which I find weird because I was expecting to die a lot more on veteran than regular.
I guess by that time you've built up a bit more experience and you know what you're in for, so maybe that would help you get across the line a bit easier in the veteran playthrough. There was one section in Vorkuta though. It's even a section that I struggled with actually, I think on regular, which was the armory, that section. Oh, okay. But again, when you look at it, it's definitely just a tough section, even if you know what to expect, because just instead of having to deal with stuff on like 2 dimensions, you've got to deal with the verticality as well of the guards being up on the railings there. Yeah, for sure. Not only that, but again, it just gives you no room for error. Like, the only reason why I survived initially getting in the armory is I literally made a beeline for the little room in the corner and hunkered down until the rest could get in. Cool. Yeah. And then, god damn, I think I would have done all right had I not been screwed over by the checkpoint gods, but getting back to after Reznov grabs the blowtorch and starts heading back to the armory, there's some guys that hide up in a tight spot to get. Even if you know they're there, it's hard to get them because by the time you're in position to engage them, they already know you're there and already engaging you. So, and with how short the kill timer is, you're screwed. So what I would do is switch over to the grenade launcher, pop over, lob the grenade, hope I kill them, duck back, load up, pop out, see if they're dead, duck back. If they're not dead, adjust my aim, pop back out, and do that until they're bloody dead. So I'll just lob grenades until there's no one there. Yeah. And then only to kind of get killed trying to hold the armory as he's trying to break through it. But once you find a good position and hunker down, you're right. But then if you screw up anywhere in that later section, you got to go all the way back and do that section again. Yeah. And it's like, and it's gotten to the point where it's like, even if I made like the tiniest mistakes, it'd be back to that checkpoint. For sure. It's that kind of situations where it's like, there's fractions of the second. Yep. And that's the difference between being able to actually make it or going back to the checkpoint. Yeah, I do remember, I think that was probably one of the better things from Black Ops is that there wasn't as many checkpoints as there are in sort of some of the later COD games. So it did have to be a bit more tactical and a bit more methodical where not to die. Yeah. And still such a good game. I think, it's kind of, checkpoints is a bit of a hard thing to get right because you don't want too little checkpoints, but then you don't want too many. For sure. Because there are too many, you kind of cheese it. Yeah. Yeah. I know what you mean. So it gets stuck in some weird bits every now and then. Sort of in between. You don't want to sort of be sort of in between a sort of starting of a mission checkpoint and like sort of right before like a really big engagement. You want to either be like one or the other, especially if you're sort of stuck without ammo or something.
Yeah. I think, there's a terminology for games that doesn't really apply now, but definitely applied to older games, which are soft lock, which you kind of soft locked yourself out of the game if you did some stupid things. Like a good example is some of the Resident Evil games, like you kind of had to kind of conserve your ammo. If you used up too much ammo and got to this one area, you wouldn't have enough ammo to continue the game.
Yeah. That's interesting. I haven't heard the term before, but yeah, definitely a couple of games where you need to do that for sure.
Not only that, but again, one thing that definitely hurts it is the armor in that. The armor in the game's not that great, so you it's kind of mandatory to use power armor if you want even a chance of being able to shrug off it.
For sure.
A heavy hit in that.
Yeah.
Which actually, from the description that Storyteller provides about power armor in the introduction to power armor in the the Wasteland Guide, which is a really cool mod, and I recommend you trying out if you do get around to playing Fallout 4.
Yeah.
Because it actually, especially for someone like you who's not as familiar with the lore with me, would probably be able to get more enjoyment than I ever could out of it.
Right.
Because it would tell you interesting bits of the lore and that, and kind of give you, not an in-depth analysis of the lore, but give you some cool, interesting info and kind of help with the world building a lot.
Right. Because I've played a little bit of New Vegas, and I sort of got halfway through Fallout 3.
I've been in Fallout 3, I think, a couple of times.
Yeah. And so, I
remember struggling with it, but that was just because my first run, I did a horrible job of speccing my character, and that really screwed me over in the entire run.
Yeah. I think...
I got screwed over because guess what? I kind of did neglect the luck stat, and I think you kind of like a luck 3 and you're kind of all right, just because with like luck 1, 2, I just don't think ammo was plentiful enough to really do a gun ranged build.
Right.
But it didn't even help that. It's even an issue I still do with the later Fallout games. So I tend to, the way I spec my characters, really well suited for a melee build, but I don't really use melee at all.
Yeah.
But then melee's kind of a bit like, if you spec right, melee can be quite lucrative, but it's much easier to kind of, even without a full dedicated spec into range weapons being quite effective.
Yeah.
And it's kind of that balance though.
For sure. Yeah, it's definitely one of those games where you want to do a little bit of research into, how to spec your character. So, to the style of gameplay that you want to play. You don't end up getting halfway through the game and sort of giving up because things are becoming a bit too hard for the way that you want to play. Because I think that's basically what happened with me, is it just got to the point where I'd sort of gotten through too far and just realized it's not going to work the way that I want to play. And didn't really want to start
Although
from scratch.
I'm so used to what kind of using cheese to give myself a high level on that, and having generally high special stats. I was so used to being able to sprint long distances and that, and cover a lot of large ground very quickly. Yeah. And it was just kind of a bit of a pain, only getting maybe not even down a block and have to be like, wait up, I got to catch me breath. Sure. Where before I could probably sprint almost from town to town. Yeah. Without having to catch a breath. Yeah. And it's just a little minor thing that bugged me, but that's more just because it's something that I haven't had to kind of deal with in quite a while.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think even on the new save, I actually installed another mod that should, give it more of that feel that the older version had, which was, it was a mod that essentially replaced or swapped out the vanilla weapon. So now, in theory, all the enemies should be carrying weapons from the mod.
Oh, okay, cool.
But then I feel like it's kind of ruins the big, because it's like every now and then you would kind of encounter an enemy with a vanilla weapon. Right. But I was like, again, as I said, every now and then. Yeah. Where in the newer version, it leaned a lot more towards people having vanilla weapons, even vanilla melee weapons. Yeah, right. And maybe like a couple. Actually, I think later on into the more high density areas, it's like, I think it's not quite 50-50, but it's definitely close to that. But I think in the earlier sections, it's more like 25-75. Yeah, okay. With the modded weapons being that 25%. Yeah. Yeah, that definitely would. Where in the older version, it's more like, even in the earlier sections, it's 75-25%.
Yeah,
with the
right.
75 being the modded weapons.
That would definitely make a bit more sense for immersion and that.
Yeah, it just shifts the balance because, with the 75-25, it does make it very difficult, especially early on.
Yeah.
But then it balances itself off once you get the better gear and stuff and level up.
Yeah, I'd think, obviously make it a bit more of a challenge early on, but once you're in, it would be be pretty good.
Like even the older versions, it actually did have added body armor as well, and that body armor is definitely a lifesaver. I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
Like stat wise, it's not that great compared to power armor, but for early on, it just beats everything you can get early on in the game by miles. It's like comparable to maybe mid bordering late game, and that's getting it literally from the start if you know where to look.
For sure.
Or if you can scrounge up enough pre-war money to get all the stuff.
Uh-huh.
Not only that, but you got the holsters, which is just doesn't really take up any slots. Or has its own special slot, so that means that's even more protection.
Yeah.
Combine that with the tactical vest, which added quite a fair bit. I think it was like either I think it was a damage resistant point value of 60, 80, I think. The best one you can get like right off the bat without modifying it, but then it gets up to like 120, 160 when you get the right perks and enough material to really upgrade it really good.
Yeah.
And then you would have the holster, which I think the best holster was whatever the value is called. I keep changing the name on it, so I'm just going to say the armor value from now on.
Sure.
Had an armor value of either 35 to 40. You couldn't beef it up, but still, that's a little bit extra, the little more you have, which can make the difference between life and death.
For sure.
And then the arm and leg plates, I think some of them would be like level 2 and some were level 1 armor. Which is actually a rating system I can't remember. I think level 1 would be more kind of, commonplace stuff like 22 9mm low-powered stuff, where level 2 would be kind of getting into like, 357 Magnum, some of the more potent pistol rounds and that.
Sure, yeah.
I think once you get into level 3, you're getting into small rifles and that.
Yeah, okay.
And I think actually level 2 can stop like shotgun shells and stuff like that, although it probably may not hold up against heavy slugs, but should hold up against most shotgun rounds.
Interesting.
If I remember correctly, the rating system.
Yeah.
But then we got like, 2A, which I think is a bit different from level 2.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's something we probably have to look up post.
Definitely.
But then with that gone, it just really shafts you early game because now you don't have easy access to such decent protection.
Yeah.
Which then makes even the use of power armor more of a necessity.
Yeah, okay.
Because at least, like, don't get me wrong, you can still die pretty quick when fully all geared out with it all maxed out. But at least it made it so that's somewhat playable without use of power armor.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Because again, literally, I'd say it'd be much better than some of the best late game armor when it's all maxed out.
Yeah, okay.
And even then, you have a hard time kind of surviving some pretty dicey encounters.
For sure, yeah.
But it's definitely a little bit forgiving. So you definitely can allow you to be a bit more fast and loose, which I kind of like, because at that point you kind of deserve it, that you've survived and prospered long enough to get to that point.
For sure. And you put the effort into, upgrade it as well. So you'd hope that, you'd have some perks of being able to move quicker.
But if you combine it with the power armor, it definitely makes you a force to be reckoned with. Not invincible, but it can allow you to even shrug off what would normally be, a one-shot hit.
Yeah, cool.
And probably have not a ton of health, but a fair bit of health left.
Interesting.
And that's combined with late game power armor, so...
Yeah.
It's not even like super late stuff. It's probably more like mid. I think I was using mostly mid kind of power, mid-game power armor or configured to that performance level.
For sure, yeah. Awesome. Any other any other positives come out of the last 6 hours of playthrough? I
think actually a lot of the positives I said in that kind of thing kind of summed it up. It's like the gun, I guess I'm a bit mixed on the gunplay, but the gunplay I would say is overall positive, although the kind of the hit detection, in my opinion, is a bit wonky.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Which kind of makes it feel a bit weird, but I think just the sounds of the guns, the sounds in the custom reload animations.
Sure.
As well as some weapons having unique draw and holstering animations, like some of the pistols, it's like just the way they put it away, they'll flip on the safety in him, kind of
Okay.
like it looks like they're actually putting it in the holster, which is just neat.
Yeah.
Even the sound of them when they pull it out and cycle, some of them, it just sounds really nice.
Cool.
And some of the weapons that would already be like loaded when they pull them out don't cycle them, but at least they managed to animate it so they would cycle when you would reload it.
Yeah.
Although I think one gripe, although I would say this would be a pain to implement, would be to have it so the animation reload kind of depends on the amount of ammo you have left.
Oh, okay.
So if you had one round left in the chamber and then you go and put in a fresh mag, let's say you got an AK system, makes it easier at 30 rounds. So you now have 31, one in the chamber and 30 in the magazine.
Right.
And then when doing that reload, you wouldn't cycle it or if you were to cycle it, it'd be 30 because you just ejected that one in the chamber and just changed one from the mag.
Yeah. I guess that I mean for a full game that would make sense, but for a mod,
actually I think there's some full games that don't even do that.
I'm sure there would be quite a lot that wouldn't, but yeah.
Hell, I think there's actually a mod for a game that's literally the entire purpose is just so that you can make like the whole point of it's like it's not really that much fun playing the game by itself, but it's designed to be like the kind of game where you just fuck about and play around with mods.
Yeah, okay.
It had a mod that added firearms that had that feature, so
yeah, cool.
If something like that could do that, I wouldn't be. But then I guess from what I've heard, the software for modding Fallout 4 is a bit of a pain in the ass to work with, from what I've heard.
Yeah.
Especially with some of the restrictions when it comes to stuff like Xbox and that.
For sure. Yeah. I've heard, modding for PC is quite a simple thing in comparison when it comes to console. Yeah.
Although there is one bug that kind of annoys me, but I kind of can live with it, and that is just the reload animation for the Benelli M4. Right. Because, it works as it should when you're not in the power armor, but when you're in the powering armor, it's the reload animations in line with a pump action shotgun, which the Benelli M4 is a semi.
Right, okay.
And even when you're in the power armor, when you pull it out, it does the correct cycling animation.
Sure.
Where you see him, as he's pulling it out, cycle the bolt back.
Yeah.
From the charging handle. Right. But then when in the power armor go to reload and he goes to cycle, he grabs the foregrip and cycles it like a pump even though it's fixed.
Yeah, right.
It's just that would weird.
Yeah, that would be weird.
Also, a neat little thing is that I think depending on the shell you're using, the shotgun shells are different.
Okay.
So you can kind of tell what shells it's using just by a glance. Like, I think double op buckshot is the more typical shotgun shell. So it's the brass end with the red plastic. Yeah. Where I think what I've gone is used the number one buckshot. Right. So that has a green casing instead. Okay. Although performance-wise, I got to fix this up here. Performance-wise, I think the number one buckshot is a bit better than the double op buck, so I kind of switched over to it. Right. Cool. Although the Dragon's Breath's a bit disappointing, though, in my opinion. Right. I think it was modded fairly well on the earlier versions, if I remember correctly. Or the earlier versions of the mod, but it seems to be a bit lacking. Like, don't get me wrong, it has the kind of the fire effect for wherever the shells hit, but it doesn't have that spray of flames like it did in the older version, if I'm remembering it correctly. Okay. Which is how Dragon Breath works. It potentially turns your shotgun into a portable flamethrower. Yeah. Am I crazy? Is the audio coming through different? Oh, there we go. It sounded like the audio is coming through differently. Now it's back to normal. Oh, okay. It was fine for me. Must just be on your end. Okay. Cool. So still overall positive review. Yeah, it's got a lot more problems. So at least it's still a lot more functional than one of the betas. Right. So I know one of the betas, there was an issue with the scopes, and certain scopes would be terribly out of alignment, so
Sure.
it'd be almost impossible to hit anything with them.
Yeah.
And that would kind of shaft you over in the early game because, you'd only have, you wouldn't have the ability. Well, no, I think you could probably take scopes and shit off without having the gun nut perk.
Right.
And that's the thing, is also, that's the main reason why I kind of use cheats, so I can get myself to level 13 so I can get gun nut 2 so I can actually get away and start tweaking them.
Yeah.
Literally, I could spend almost an entire day just, modifying guns. Literally,
Yep.
I know I spent one 12-hour session playing, and probably 6 of those 12 hours was just me kind of running from the vending machine to get parts to modify the guns,
Yep.
going to the bench, modifying said guns,
Yep.
and then going over to my cupboards and that, or my drawers and that have guns, and pulling and storing them in there, and then pulling guns out and then taking them out and modifying, and kind of repeat.
Yeah.
And spending hours of just doing that, and then after doing that, take out a whole heap of them and just give them a test fire just to see how they feel.
Cool.
And it's just hours of doing that.
Yeah.
So it's the wire for my headset's playing up a bit.
Okay. I'll check it out after.
Yay. Technical difficulties.
Yeah.
But I guess, even though you haven't experienced any mod, from what I've told you, what's your thoughts on the mod?
I mean, it sounds cool. It'd be interesting for sure to, if you've put such an amount of time into like the standard game, then definitely the idea for mods is really cool, and just overall.
Actually, I probably haven't played the game that much vanilla. Once I found that mod, I think I just played it with that mod.
But yeah, definitely if, for someone like you that is just super into, sort of or just realistic, not even hyper realistic, but yeah, just sort of realistic gameplay of weaponry in general. It'd be really, really cool, and a really sort of unique way of being able to,
have fun.
And because obviously, you're
I
not
think
going to
there
have
are definitely,
access.
like, for the older versions, there are like separate mods other people made to reduce the damage,
sure.
but I think using those just, I think, really takes away from the experience.
Yeah, and also the fact that it's not just the aesthetic of the gun; it's the actual the sort of real world consequences of just getting shot once and
Pretty much, being
that
dead.
effect, which is generally the way that happens in real life. So having that little extra,
not only that, but
really
a lot of the changes and that you can make to the gun can change how it behaves and performs.
Yeah,
Like, I think the shorter barrels tend to have a lot less range and less damage, but I think they have a higher rate of fire just because,
sure.
especially with some of them that are gas operated, the gas pistons actually, the gas system's a bit closer to the action, which just allows a bit of a higher silic rate.
Right.
Where the longer barrels, in some cases, the gas system's kind of a bit larger and longer, which slows the silic rate down, but then the longer barrel gives more damage and longer range.
Yeah. Yeah, so those little sort of intricacies are really cool.
Which then makes it so that depending on what you want to use the weapon for, will depend on how you would kit it out in that.
Yeah, for sure.
So something that's supposed to be used in like a squad support role will not work well in a CQC environment.
Sure. Yeah.
Because the whole point of a squad support weapon is to be able to put down a wall of, put down a wall of fire and keep the enemy's heads down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you probably want to have a slower rate of fire so you can kind of get, better endurance so you don't shoot for your rounds too quickly.
For sure. Yeah.
But then don't have to worry about cooking the barrel off as quickly.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, for sure.
And then with the CQC, you want something that's a bit more compact but has that high rate of fire so you can get those rounds down range and get them down quickly.
Cool. Awesome.
Which is actually kind of the reason why you've got several different types of weapons. Even in military service now, you've got your carbine, your rifle, your DMR, which I think sort of falls under your DMR, then your sniper rifle. Which there is for those that are a bit unaware, there is a difference between a sniper rifle and a DMR,
right?
Because they serve similar roles, but they kind of there's differences in the roles they carry out, but they kind of not quite overlap, but they serve similar purposes, but under different circumstances. Like I think one weapon people call sniper rifles that is actually DMR is the Dragunov.
Right.
That is a designated marksman rifle because it's designed to kind of engage targets outside the standard engagement range of the infantry, but isn't designed to be able to accurately take out a target from really long range.
Yeah.
But is designed to be able to engage and take out targets at range beyond standard in combat range, and that's the whole point of the DMR.
Right. Yeah, okay.
Is to be able to engage enemies at range where your infantry can't effectively engage them.
Yeah. That's interesting. So yeah, sort of
where a
the
sniper
middle
rifle's
man.
meant for those even longer ranges and being able to reliably kill targets at long distances.
Interesting.
Hence why you can see that there's quite a lot of difference in the designs of DMRs compared to sniper rifles.
I would think so, yeah.
Like just look at the Dragunov compared to, let's say, that's a good example of a sniper rifle that is completely different from it. I'd say like something like an M24,
right,
or like an intervention, where in terms of rate of fire, the intervention's much slower than the Dragunov.
Yeah,
but I would say the intervention would probably be able to reliably hit targets at a kilometer away. Where I see you could probably hit targets a kilometer away with the Dragunov, but it wouldn't do it as reliably.
Yeah, it would probably come down to the marksmen themselves. Don't
get me wrong, if you're a good enough shot, you can make almost any weapon work, but just overall platforms dedicated for long-range shooting tend to perform better than one that's not designed for
sure
being able to hit accurately at long range, but just being able to kind of engage outside of that standard combat range.
Yeah, for sure.
Which your standard combat range can vary depending on what you're kind of fielding. Like if you're tending to field more carbines than that, your combat range is not that great.
Right.
Like probably, I'm trying to think standard engagement range for something like the M4 carbine. I think probably the standard range is not too far out from 300 meters.
Yeah, okay.
For something like an M4, although there's definitely been cases where they've been used further out, but the M4 carbines, typically their standard engagement range is like 400 meters.
Yeah, okay.
I think the 7.62 weapons are a bit further out, like not much, probably like 500-600.
Yeah, right.
So kind of just starting to enter DMR territory.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the DMRs are the 7.62s.
Right.
But then they're kind of built a bit differently to kind of be a bit more effective at ranges just kind of exceeding a standard 7.62 firearm.
Interesting.
And you can kind of see, how you got your carbines, which are more suited for that, as CQC environments. Then you get your standard rifle, which is more, for standard use.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, you can make them work in the CQC, but you've got a lot of disadvantages that you wouldn't have with a carbine. Although I guess you can still have a full-length rifle and still be quite good at CQC if you were to go with a bullpup design, but then that it has its own sets of drawbacks.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So obviously using the right tool for the job.
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously there's many tools to choose from.
Yeah.
So it's all going to come down to
the
knowledge.
biggest problem of using, let's say, something like an old M16 in like an M16A1 in a CQC environment is if there's actually, with just how long it is, there's a good chance that the enemy knows you're coming around the corner before you come around the corner because they can see the barrel poking out around from the corner.
Right.
Which gives them that milliseconds to be able to set themselves up and get ready to shoot you as soon as you pop around the corner.
For sure.
Where with a much shorter barrel, they got a lot less time to react.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the bullpup design allows you to have the full barrel length, but since the action's up in the rear of the gun, it makes the thing overall shorter while keeping the same barrel length.
Interesting.
Which is an interesting way of solving the problem. Yeah. It allows you to have a gun that has similar performance to your full-size rifle.
For sure.
But then have something that has a similar profile to a carbine.
Yeah, so you get best of both worlds.
Yeah, but then the ergonomics, from what I've heard, is a bit meh.
Yeah, you're going to get some drawbacks.
Bit hit or miss.
Yeah, for sure.
Although from what I've heard, the AUG's ergonomics is pretty good. Right.
Cool.
Although I got to say, the 9mm AUGs are just so cute with their little barrel on that. It's so adorable. It's like almost like I'd say they're cuter than puppies.
Right.
That's just how cute they are.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
Although, saying that, I'm probably not much the man to talk about when it comes to being practical with weaponry and that, considering I love stuff like the M2, which in like certain situations, yeah, it's quite a practical firearm, but in the modern battlefield, it's probably not as effective as many of the other newer weapon systems.
Right.
Like it definitely does good for like a fixed mount. It does that role really well, but I don't think it would be able to really be used super effectively in the role that it was intended for, which was kind of to be like a small squad operated weapon, just because not only is it heavy and you need a lot of men to move it around and operate it effectively.
Yeah.
But I just don't think it could be kind of flexible enough in them just how fast-paced modern warfare is.
Sure.
So it'd be better in more of a static defense role, being mounted on vehicles.
Yeah. Interesting.
But then I guess when all else fails, the powerful round that it throws downrange can do a good enough job of dealing with the threat anyway. So if all else fails, you can just obliterate your target.
For sure.
Hell, I think at one point, even though it was a machine gun, at one point it held the world record for the longest range confirmed kill.
Yeah, right.
Which is weird, because wouldn't you think a sniper rifle would hold it?
You would think so.
Literally, what they did was they slapped a scope on the back of the receiver of the M2 and just were able to hit targets far away with it. But that's more due to its, like 40-inch long barrel plus just the heavy weight of the bullet and the high muzzle velocities.
Yeah.
Which just turns it into, I guess, a big fuck-off sniper rifle.
Yeah. And then obviously, down to the marksman as well. Like,
not only that, but who needs to do careful aim shots when you can just mag dump?
Yes, for sure. All right, that was a pretty long one.
And I think it'd be pretty easy to tell if you got hit, if someone was hit and killed by a 50 cal round, considering it would take a decent chunk out of them.
Yeah, definitely.
I just realised, well, I guess we can do one segment for this episode.
Maybe, yeah.
Or we can do a quick second one. I guess I'll let you kind of do that one.
Yeah. I guess a little announcement. I've got a new song releasing today.
Shit!
So you can find it up on Spotify. It's on YouTube and all other streaming services. So it's
what is it anyway?
So you can find it under my artist name, which is JMS163. Sort of do a little bit of a mixture of electronic EDM music, sort of lo-fi stuff, and some other things as well that aren't released.
Do you think would I enjoy it?
Maybe. It's sort of cool, just sort of chill music.
I think a lot of stuff I enjoy is a bit more, I guess, aggressive. I guess.
Yeah. So I do have some more aggressive stuff, more in the metal sort of side with my band. But yeah, this project that I've been working on for a while is more the other side. Yeah.
I just realised though, still got to get around to getting that out and then finishing that off and getting that out.
Yes.
Which I think if we got time, we could probably sort of work on? Question mark?
Yeah. Very cryptic there, but yeah, probably. We'll see how
I definitely know one's ready for release, so I'm not sure what we're going to do with that.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting.
But knowing me, I'm the kind of person that's like would probably make something and just never get around to releasing it. Yeah.
There's a lot of people that do that. That just sort of I know one guy. He spent about a year and a half on an album, and he dropped some little teasers and stuff like that, and just never got around to releasing it, which sucks because it's pretty cool.
I'm a little bit glad because it was like expecting you like, oh no, he's got another child on the way.
No, definitely not.
I'll say, isn't it like how many children do you have?
I've got 2, so yeah,
two too many.
2 is definitely enough.
I'll say like, isn't there some people that are like on 6 or 8, and I'm like, why?
Yeah, that's definitely not for me.
Nah, as I said, 2 is too many.
But yeah, so that's out today. You can find it at all good spots that people listen to music. BANDCAMP as well, it's up there if you want to make a purchase.
So I guess, how do you go about getting it out on Spotify and that?
So I maybe this could be a sponsor in the future. So I use DistroKid. They are a pretty good little service. I pay.
Well, I guess this is a free promotion now, I guess.
It's a free promo. So yeah, I pay something like $35 a year, and it gets you unlimited uploads to all the major streaming services.
That bloody hurt. The headset was pressing down on the top of the cap, and that was just bearing into my skull.
Yes, not fun. But yeah, they're really good. They manage all your music, and they make sure that they get you all your royalties that you're owed from streams and purchases that people make. So really good little service. There's a couple of others out there, but I've just chosen to use them.
Yeah, I'll say. I think, should we kind of just leave it up? I'll say we didn't have much of that one, so I'll say leave it up to the ones what we cover next time. But
maybe.
Then I guess I realised we were just how the backlog works by the time this gets up. We probably actually have not a large audience, but a decently sized one.
Maybe. Hopefully.
We're only starting out.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, as we said at the start, if you're listening in, you're tuning in, send in a topic or a question, and we'll get to it.
I'd say it'd be fun just to do a quick joke segment, or just one that's just like there's no real point to it or something. Well, then, is there really ever a point to a conversation?
There might be.
Or am I just getting too meta?
Maybe. Bit too, philosophical. There can be, definitely.
Yeah, that's probably the better word than meta. Though I do love getting meta when it comes to meta stuff.
For sure. Yeah. Can be fun. Can be insightful.
Yeah, but then how I realised, even though I have carbines, I tend to use full-size rifles.
Right.
Over carbines.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I think that's just an old bias, just generally being there. Carbines ain't that great.
Right.
Like what you can do with a carbine, you can kind of do better with a rifle.
For sure. Yeah.
But then that's kind of shooting completely over the point of the whole purpose of a carbine.
Yeah.
So the whole point of the carbine is to be a more compact, portable weapon that non-frontline units can use, which is its original purpose, and it sort of still is that.
Right.
Although I think the US Army doesn't really use the full-size M16 that much anymore. I know the Marine Corps still does.
Right.
But I think they tend to use, the M4 carbine in frontline, but that's more just because the weight of equipment has gone through the roof.
For
and
sure.
They just did that more as a weight saving.
Yeah. That makes sense, for sure.
In my opinion, kind of defeats the purpose of really having the full size rounds.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely appreciated when you do have maybe one or two guys in your squad with a full size and you're kind of out in a big open area, because that's when they will really start to shine. Yeah. But then most of the environments that the US have been engaged in recently is mostly CQC environments anyway.
Right. Yeah.
But what if they got ambushed out in the open though? I just see that's where the carbines will start to falter a bit.
Yeah.
Because if I remember correctly, isn't Afghanistan quite a large open area?
Yeah.
Besides getting actually even quite large area in the mountain ranges, just because the distances between the mountains and that and how high they can get allows those engagement ranges to creep up really quick.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with the terrain, but yeah, I think from what I've heard, it is either a lot of very flat for a long time, or when there is hilly areas, it is sort of quite spread out, sort of large hilly areas, unless it's sort of like a canyon style, where then it's quite sporadic, up and down. Yeah.
But even them, weren't they mostly operating in urban environments anyway?
Yeah. I
guess from that standpoint, it makes sense to kind of have more M4s out than the M16s, but at least give a couple of you guys M16s when you're going out into those wide open areas.
Could be an
just
idea.
So you got that bit more engagement range to work with.
Yeah.
Not only that, but I think there were definitely some performance issues with the early adoption of the M4. Mm-hmm. But that's more just to do with the round and the round's history than the platform itself. But then I think they made tweaks to the round, and that kind of helped fix the issue.
Right.
Because originally the 556 by 556 by 45, right? If I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. I think I may be a bit out of the casing size, but it pretty much was the performance requirements when the US was adopting it was essentially be able to penetrate a steel helmet at 600 yards.
Right.
From a 20-inch barrel, and it was designed to kind of achieve that kind of performance with a 20-inch barrel. So if you were to practically, not quite, but I guess it's cut down the barrel by a quarter of the length, you can see that it would have a dip in performance because it was designed to be optimum performance from the 20-inch barrel. Yeah. So if you go cut down the barrel, you're not getting that optimum level of performance.
Yeah, for that specific style of engagement, definitely. There could be a...
still, don't get me wrong, it would have enough energy to kill you in a CQC environment.
For sure.
But, again, even with the full length, it still can, kill in a CQC environment.
Yeah.
It's just at those that is said that 600-yard range. Yeah. That steel helmet can be somewhat reliably, I think it was not like be able to, it's like be able to reliably penetrate. So it's not like, on the odd chance you hit them on the steel helmet at 600 yards that it may go through. It's that there's a good chance it's going to go through at that range.
Yeah, for sure.
Which, then once you cut it down to practically a 14.5-inch barrel, I think not only would you have probably a bit of harder time scoring a hit on a target that size at that kind of range, but I don't think it would have the power to go through.
For sure.
Even if it was like just an off chance. It'd have to be either defective or the helmet's already been kind of a bit damaged.
Right.
Either that or it's on a whole helmet that's in a bit of a bad shape.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that was one of the biggest issues when they, not only with the use, but I think it wasn't much of an issue with adoption, but when early on in Afghanistan, the complaint was the M4 didn't have enough stopping power.
Right.
Which it definitely makes sense just because the cut down barrel would definitely hurt its performance, especially at range.
Yeah. For
but
sure.
I think from what I've heard, it was definitely alleviated a bit when they did tweak the propellant and that.
Right.
Which that was also another issue, even for the early M16s, which the rounds were designed to be used into, because I think the powder they actually used when they adopted it was different to the one that they were spec'd with, which then caused increased fouling, which is not that much of an issue. It just means you got to maintain it more regularly. But then the problem was a lot of the people didn't even really hand out maintaining kits for the early M16s.
Right.
Much less be like, you've got to kind of maintain this thing quite regularly and look after it well. And that's kind of, I think the biggest myth is the reliability of the M16 being really poor. Yes, it was poor reliability early on in its life, but that's more not the fault of the gun, but just, again, not really being told that, you've got to be, look after it regularly and, be quite extensive in your cleaning and maintenance.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think and it doesn't help that they're not actively handing out cleaning kits from one source I've heard.
Right. Interesting.
But I think once they started handing out more cleaning kits, made some tweaks to the design to kind of make it help with its life a bit.
Yeah.
But then kind of not only that, but even giving out manuals on how to kind of properly clean and maintain them too.
Well, yeah.
As well as being like, you got to maintain and clean them regularly.
For sure.
And around about that point, their reliability kind of starts to go through the roof.
Yes, definitely.
Not only that, but they even made, I'm not sure if they changed it back to what the powder that was originally spec'd for the round. I think they adopted something that was a bit different spec to that, but it just didn't cause as much fouling as what they ended up issuing early on. Yeah. Which also kind of helped too, but still I think if there's anything you can take away from this episode is that it doesn't matter what gun you've got, just, again, clean it regularly and thoroughly, and it shouldn't play up on you.
Yes. Know it well, use it well.
Yeah.
Yeah, take care.
Not only that, but don't put crappy ammo for it too.
Yeah.
That's also another thing that can cause issues because either the cartridge itself's playing up or the cartridge is not performing well enough for the gun to work like it should. Right. Or you can have it, it works all fine and dandy, but then again, causes the foul up quicker, which means more maintenance and cleaning.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's kind of the biggest myth is, also another myth is, the reliability of the AK. Yeah, it's definitely a fairly and reliable platform, but it's not as reliable as people make it out to be.
Right.
Because it's definitely, in terms of reliability, it does not need, I think the reason why I'd consider it even more reliable than the M16 is that it does not need as intensive or as frequent maintenance as the M16, so you can kind of get away with not looking after it that well.
Yeah.
So it's like, although this is probably not the greatest example, it's almost like with the AK you can treat it like a pet rock, but you have to treat the M16 like an actual pet. You've got to actually look after your animal.
Sure. Yeah. Cool.
Although I feel sorry for the person that had a pet rock die on them.
I mean,
because that's really the whole point of the AK was that an unskilled farmer that doesn't know really how to use firearms that well, or look after them that well, can use them and it should still be able to run even with minimal maintenance.
Sure.
So it should be able to run fairly well even with the extremely basic maintenance and cleaning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's where I guess the AK gets its mythical being extremely reliable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't get me wrong, if you deliberately put in conditions where it will start having issues, it will start having issues.
Yeah, for sure.
So burying it in mud and that, it will start having issues after being submerged in mud and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Although it wouldn't probably start playing up as quick as an M16 would, just because, again, the looser tolerances does help a bit, but then due to the big opening in the side of it means more crap can get into it anyway, which would kind of offset the looser tolerances anyway, so it's a bit catch-22.
For sure.
The looser tolerances allow more shit to get into it before it starts really causing the gun to play up, but then that big opening in the side allows more shit to get in anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
So in other words, they can be quite reliable and rugged, but it will start to falter when, you put it in conditions that will cause it to falter.
Yes. Yeah, if you're, just using it and not taking care of it, it'll last quite a while. But if you're using it, not taking care of it, and also just chucking it around, letting it,
fill up with crap and shit and not really clean the crap out.
Yeah. And then it's going to go downhill pretty quick.
Yeah, but even then, another beauty of the AK is just since it's such a simple system, even the repairs need to be done to it are quite easy. Where
for sure,
I'm not sure. No, haven't I? Well, made you pull apart one.
Yes,
and I think I've shown you pulling apart an AR platform, and I think you may have pulled apart the M4 carbine where I pulled apart the M16A1.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that just shows my bias too, anyway, because I pulled apart my favorite gun and I gave you my least liked, in the AR family for you to pull apart.
For sure.
So I just realized that on a subconscious level, I was showing off my bias.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't want to deal with this. It's your problem now.
All right.
I wonder how many people believe that you were actually handling the damn things. It'd be nice to handle the actual damn things, but again, it was more like a kind of a training sim, I guess.
Yeah, more a training sim app that you can...
Well, more of an educational app.
Sort of is, yeah. Training sim, educational.
It's a mix between like a game and an educational app, which I kind of like.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It'd be cool if there was sort of similar things for other pieces of equipment. So like if you wanted to repair sort of like an piece of electronic, like...
Oh yeah, definitely. But then I'm not sure if it would work. Well, I guess you could disassemble, but then I don't think you could really do intricate repairs.
Yeah.
Well, I think you can do kind of show with that application repairs of firearms, especially the more since they're more mechanical in nature. So something is like just bang on it with some bits of a hammer, or just machine a new part.
Yeah.
Although I'm not sure how I'd be able to show machining new parts that well, but literally, I think I remember someone doing a meltdown test on an AK.
Okay.
The barrel got so hot it warped, and due to it warping and drooping, the gap opened up in the gas piston, so it was not getting too much of the gas was escaping and not enough to cycle it.
Right.
So it wouldn't cycle because, again, the gas is all escaping and there's not enough pushing on the piston. I think what he does is, I think, lets it cool down a bit. Right. And then I think with a couple of trees and a few straps, was able to bend the barrel back into shape and connect the gas piston back up and, again, cycled it, put a new round in it, and it started feeling like it was brand new.
Interesting.
And that's, I guess, another thing about the reliability of the AK is it's very easy to do those kind of field repairs where it's simply just bash on it a bit and until it starts working again.
Yeah. Like an old school TV or something.
Yeah.
They're just bashing on it for the reception to come back.
Yeah.
Cool.
And where with the AR, I don't think he could really kind of do that.
Right.
Like a good example is that the gas tube on the AK is a big, big round tube, as you've seen pulling it apart.
Yeah.
And you can see where it joins to, the gas port that, kind of taps into the barrel. So, when the barrel drooped, it kind of opened up that gap where it joins.
Right.
And, he just was able to bend it back in. So, it connected up well enough that you could cycle it again and shoot it.
Yeah.
Oh, the thing got pretty bloody hot, though, because the wooden guards on it actually caught on fire.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just interesting to watch, him just sitting there dumping rounds through it as, the handguard he's holding onto is burning up. Like, I think, he was wearing like a welding mask and even welding gloves while doing it.
Sure. Yeah. You'd definitely have to.
I think before he kind of this thing's done, I think he put 4,000 rounds through it before it got to the point where it's like, it's kind of buggered, but just put it out to pasture.
For sure.
And that's just almost kind of constant, 4,000 rounds through it.
Yeah, right. Interesting.
And you can even see the action's starting to play up a bit. It's seizing up, and he had to actually go bang, bang to dislodge the bulk carrier group and get it to cycle.
Yeah, okay. Interesting.
And you can see that, even when it's starting to play up, just something like that was able to kind of troubleshoot and get it somewhat working again.
For sure.
Where I just don't think you could really do those kind of, I'm going to call them bush fixes on an AR platform.
Yeah.
Maybe bashing, you could probably get it to dislodge a jammed casing that way, but I just don't think by that point, I think the M16 would be kind of written off.
For sure. Yeah.
I think before really any stuff like that would happen, the gas tube would blow. So that was the whole point of the design of the gas tube on the AR platform was for that to fail before anything more expensive or complex breaks. Because it's very quick and easy to swap out and drop a new gas tube in.
Right. Yeah.
Where it's not so easy to do that, to have to put an entirely new bulk carrier group in.
Yeah, right.
Or fix a specific part on the bulk carrier group in the field.
Right. Yep.
Don't get me wrong, it's not that hard to break down the M4, but I just see it'd be hard to kind of get a new bulk carrier group out in the field unless you're carrying one.
Yes.
But then again, the problem is though that's what you could be using for something else, and that's the problem.
Yep.
Where the gas tube is just a simple, small, light piece that you could probably easily either scrounge up a spare for, or even if you're really desperate, probably fab up your own.
Right.
Probably not a good idea to use for long, but just enough so you can get back to base and drop a proper one in.
For sure. So MacGyver it until you can, get back.
And I think that's the thing is like, and actually even them, if the gas tube goes in it, you probably want to actually tear it down. Once you get back, tear it down anyway, because usually something's going horribly long for the gas tube to fail in the first place.
Sure. Yeah. Interesting.
And actually, I think a fun little fact, can't remember which one of the M16s in the, I think it's like the menu or the cover for Black Ops 1, actually it has one of its gas tubes disconnected and sticking out of the handguard.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I think it was either the one on the left or right.
Yeah, right.
I don't think it's something you would have noticed, but something me is familiar with the platform noticed and was like, okay, that's pretty neat, but then how the fuck is he going to be able to use that in that cycle?
For sure.
with the desk cube disconnected, the gas can't go and cycle the bolt.
Yeah.
I guess you could use it like a straight pull. You just grab the charging handle and just rack that back, and the spring will shove it back into battery, and you just do it like that. So it'd be bang, chunk, bang, chunk, bang, chunk. But
Sure.
say that would just kind of be annoying because the way the charging handle is set up, it's not ergonomic to use like a straight pull.
Right. Yep.
Because as you said, like you'd have to definitely kind of break up your line of sight. So you'd have to reacquire as you cycle.
Yeah. You wouldn't be using it in the same manner as you usually would, because you would be, instead of being able to use it as an actual automatic
or semi, using it essentially as a straight pull.
Yeah, which would just be a completely different style of operating it, which you probably wouldn't be used to, especially if again you're a farmer who's only meant to be able to really point and shoot.
Yeah. I guess that's the beauty of the Russian of the AK platform, is just its simplicity.
For sure. Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it so reliable, is just there's not much to go wrong on it.
Yeah.
And if something does go wrong, it's kind of a relatively easy fix.
For sure.
Unless it blows up, but then...
Even then.
Probably wouldn't be too hard. It just depends on how badly blown up. If the receiver's not too badly damaged, you could probably reuse the receiver and just put a whole new, bolt carrier assembly in.
Right.
Although, I guess with the AR blowing up, not great things.
Yeah. All right, are we going to...
I guess we can... but I guess we can call that like a PSA. Just look after your guns.
Yeah.
Can we just actually, also make like that, like a short PSA?
Definitely could.
Okay, we need to do that. Probably not next time or something.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
So you want to wrap this up?
We'll wrap this one up here.
I'm just going to leave you kind of mostly just outro and intro man now.
Cool. All right. So episode 7 of the Some People podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you go and follow us, Instagram, Twitter, and give us a like. Subscribe on YouTube.
I was just trying to think. I don't think we really give a name for episode 1 or 2, but I was thinking, what was it? I had a clever one for episode 3, I think it was.
Right.
Oh, what was it? It was hilarious.
I guess you'll find out once episode 3 is released. Comes out,
because I think I had something online that was hilarious for it. I'm trying to remember what it was. I know. Well, it was like I think it was the Revenge of the Twat or something like that.
Interesting.
I think that was it.
It
was Revenge of the something. I guess the Revenge of the Bastards also kind of works, but nah. Yes. I think Twat's got a bit more flair to it.
For sure.
Although Attack of the Twat would be an interesting one for episode 2. And then I guess episode 1, The Phantom Twat. I guess the Twat trilogy. We have to do that. Can we actually rename episode 1 to that?
We probably could.
Yay.
Leave us a comment as well. Let us know how we're doing, what you want to hear. And
actually, Twat's a word you don't hear every day.
Definitely don't.
Not unless you're like in England or something.
Yeah, it's gone a little bit out of fashion for sure.
Although I like the word.
Yeah.
Either that, or instead of saying you twat, or another one would be, this is another English one, you tit.
Yes. Yeah. That's a good one as well, for sure.
Let's say English, I guess, cursing words.
Ooh. I mean, not sure. Bastard, I feel, is quite English.
Yeah.
Although...
yeah, you bloody bastard.
Yeah. So it just rolls off the tongue. That's probably my favourite.
Oh yeah, that reminds me of the line I think it was the dying line for the English Allied soldiers in Silence. It's like, bloody bastard got lucky.
Yeah.
In a stereotypically English voice, and it's just perfection.
Awesome. All right.
We've already done the outro, so should we be wrapping this up?
For sure. Yep. And you can find me, JMS163, on Instagram, Spotify, all that good stuff. Do you want to shout out your Twitch?
I'll have to think about that one, Chief.
All right. Might come back.
Why am I calling you Chief? I'm the one who's going to be in charge of this, aren't I? Oh, I guess we're both in charge.
Something like that.
I guess too many chiefs and not enough Indians.
Maybe. All right. Thanks for listening. Catch you next time.
Yeah.